Bougie Black Brother Network. Good morning and welcome to the Minorities Report podcast. I'm Michael, aka the Bougie Black Brother, and I'm honored to have on my show a great inspiration, author, and fellow podcaster, José Angel Contreras. How are you today, Jose?
Good. First, say thank you for inviting me on your podcast.
It is my pleasure. Yeah, I think a mutual friend said, hey, if you actually talking to millennials, this is one of the guys you want to talk to. And I was like, all right, send me his info. Then I was like, wow, are you kidding me? He's doing all of this. So that was pretty cool. So it's pretty, I still got my window open. How's the weather up there? Or are you traveling this week?
No, it's like about 50s this week, so it's not too cold, it's not too hot. So in Chicago, surprisingly, it's in the 50s.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. I thought you'd be down in like the mid 30s or low 40s by now, but yeah,
I was
guess
hoping
it is.
so.
Yeah, it's an adjustment. Global warming. I'm not getting into that. So Jose, there's so much I really want to get into at first, but I want you to give us just a quick background and let us know about the great Senor Contreras.
Yeah, so my name is José Angel Contreras. I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm the youngest of four children, and I graduated from the University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, and I earned my bachelor's there, criminal justice, and my master's degree in administrative leadership. And I recently moved to Chicago. I moved to Chicago November of 2016 to advance in my career.
Excellent. So Milwaukee is a little different than Chicago, or is it?
Oh, way different. Like Milwaukee is like a baby compared to Chicago. I had to adjust a lot.
I bet you did. See, so I'm originally a New Yorker, so I had everything I would want and a lot of stuff that I wanted to get away from. So when I moved down to Atlanta, I was like, uh-oh, what's going on? But I found pockets of areas that I was being able to just enjoy and go from that. So,
Yeah.
it's always good to travel. It's always so. I've seen that you've done some traveling. You've done traveling for yourself, your business, and I've seen you doing some speaking engagements. Um, which one is it that you enjoy the most, or are you kind of forced to do that kind of traveling?
No, it's just for my personal business. It's definitely to personal business and also networking.
Gotcha.
I like to. I In May I went to San Antonio to speak at a conference and to talk about more about my book,
Hmm.
and also went to LA just to network and also volunteer at a conference to build up my network and to get to know more people in the area of LA that I can get to know.
Excellent. So that's a good thing. A lot of people always center in their own community in their own way, but you're stepping out of that, and you gave me a great segue to the numbers do lie. Could you tell me about your book?
Yes,
I didn't buy it. I'm going to go to your site and I'm going to get it. So you got to return once I read it, right?
most definitely. Most definitely.
So let me know about your book. Tell
Yeah,
me about
so
your
I'm
book.
an author, first time author, and so what happened? So the numbers do lie. I titled that because over the years in my education, I have failed tremendously. It kind of goes back to when I was in third grade, and that's the first time I failed. I realized what failure is. And when I was in
Hmm.
third grade, at the end of the summer, everybody gets their report card and finds out what grade they move up to next. And when it was my turn to receive my envelope, I was so excited to look at to see what my report card said, and then you know I was looking for to where the wording was saying that I moved to fourth grade.
Right.
And when I saw the number that said, "Oh, third grade," I'm like, "Wait a minute, this
That's the
number
same
should."
thing.
I'm in third grade right now. I think my teacher made a mistake. And my
Right.
friend was with me at the time, and she was like, "No, I think that you failed third grade." And I was like, and that day, it just like pretty much turned my world upside down. I was like, this is what failure is. I felt like everything. I felt like it was my fault. Like I felt like it was my fault, but I felt like I felt like I was dumb. I felt like I was capable of being a great student. And also during that time, my parents were getting divorced, and there's like so many emotions going through my mind. And
Hmm.
and that feeling came also in high school when when I didn't do well in my ACT. The first time I took my ACT, the scores came back and I got a 15. And at that point, I was like, I don't know what these numbers mean, whatever. But my friend was there to look at the test scores, and she was like, "Hey, you might gotta take this again because a 15 is not a great score." And I was like, "Oh,
Right.
great!" I was like, "Okay." So I took it again, whatever. The second time, I scored a 15. I'm like, "Lord, I don't think I'm going to college." So,
So did you subconsciously go back to that first failure, or was
oh,
it just a new
I
feeling?
I went back to that first failure, and
Okay.
I was like,
Okay.
man, I'm really not I'm not a good student. I am horrible. This is the second time I failed at something, of my education that's so important. And but also what I
Right.
kind of looking back at it, when it comes to standardized tests, I hate them. I don't do well. That's not me. And if you give me an
Right.
essay, whatever, if you need me to speak and about something, I can do that. But a standardized test does not define who I am, and I didn't know that at that
Absolutely.
time. So that failure, that confidence in my education carried on to college because I barely got into college. I didn't have the grades. I didn't have my ACT scores, and when it came to college, I graduated with a 2.3 GPA. That is very low, and part of it is because
Right.
I was kicking it so much. I went to a lot of parties. My education was like fifth on the list, and because of course I got to
Part of
know a
college,
lot of
pretty
things, but
much.
not my studies, not my
Right. Right.
education, not my major. Because my bachelor's was
Right. Right.
in criminal justice, and I was like, you know what? I don't have to work that hard. I would just get my degree. All I need is to be a cop is like 60 credits or a college degree. That's all good. And that was my mentality. And when I graduated, I applied for the Milwaukee Police Department, and I did well in the first test, and I had to take a physical. I did great, but then when it came to the interview and the written test, the written part, I didn't get in. And I remember that day when I got the email. It says, "Mr. Contreras, sorry to inform you that you would not be moving on to the next round." And I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on? Like,
What the?
oh, hold up, I'm supposed to be a cop here. Like this is not the
Yeah.
email.
You
Exactly.
planned your life
Because after
around that.
college, I
Yeah.
thought that everything was all cookie cutter. I'm not. I thought everything's going to be easy, and that kind of plays part of me being the youngest of four
Hmm.
children. But and that after that, I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? So I got into the mental health field and also social service field, and I was like, I don't like this. This is not me. I'm not using my skills. I'm not walking in my purpose. I'm not. I don't believe in this whole mission that everybody is following. I need something different. So I decided to go back to school for my master's degree. I went back to University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, and in that process, I had to go the long route to get in because I had a low GPA. So I had to prove to the program
Right.
that I can I can handle the graduate student work, and I proved to them that I can, and I'm able to do all the work. And I'm proud to say that I graduated with a
Excellent.
3.8 GPA, and that's the first time ever in my life that I scored that high. So I'm like, oh my God. And I realized that school is so easy. And that's why
Right.
I said that, the numbers do lie. Just because you failed, so many times in the past, or just because you failed in the present, it does not define who you are today, and does not define who you are in the future.
But Jose, you that was a big dramatic change from what you was used to and how you was going through it. What was that motivating factor? What was that point in time that said, I have to do this and these are the things that I have to change me in order to be more successful? What was that point?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it real with you. So that the big turning point in my life was in 2012 when I got up out of a bad relationship, or it's an unhealthy relationship.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna put blame on her.
Okay.
It's on me too. But I realized that I had to love myself first in order to move forward. If
Right.
I want to be in a healthy relationship, I had to love me first,
Right.
and I had to understand who I am, what do I like, what I do not like, what do I need in my life, and from there on, I start to really understand the real Jose Angel Contreras. And in
Gotcha.
that process, I started to take my health and a different my health seriously in a different level,
Hmm.
and I lost 60 pounds, and
Whoa.
I took my running into a whole different perspective and a whole different level because I
Hmm.
ran marathons as well too. And I ran from a 11-minute pace down to an 8 to 7 minute pace. And I started taking
Yo.
things seriously. I'm like, man, I'm straight killing it. I'm like,
Right.
I'm getting muscles where I thought that I never had. I'm like, okay, cool. And
Right.
it
Right.
was crazy. So that was the big turning point in my life. And the second part was when my mom showed me a picture when she became a citizen. And
Mm.
she was like, Mijo, I want to show you something. And I was like, what's that? She's like, I want to show you a picture when I became a citizen. So I look at the picture, I drop my phone, and I'm like, hold up. And she's like, I'm the same age as you right now. And she's like, because at
Right.
that picture she was 28 and I was 28 at that time. And I look at the picture and I'm like, Ma, like we're literally alike. Like if I take off my
Hmm.
glasses, I'm literally her twin and I just leave long hair.
Wow.
And that day I discovered my identity again. I that
Gotcha.
day I discovered that to be proud of my Latino background. I'm Mexican American. My mom's from Oaxaca. My dad's from Jalisco, and it made me appreciate why they came to the U.S. And that day
Hmm.
on, I learned to appreciate my mother in a whole different level. And I was like, wow, you and I are alike, like to the T. And I never understood that when I was a child because she'll always say that. And
Hmm.
in those two events of my life, that breakup, and then understanding my mom and looking at that picture, understand my value of who I am in the present and who I am in the past as well.
So when you picked all that up, because I'm not going to dismiss it, but that kind of talks to what you're doing right now with so many other people. But I think the amazing thing that you said was one, you had to find yourself, and then once you found yourself, you found the bond that created that, which was your mother and the history of your family. That when you're young, you dismiss
Mhm.
that. You truly dismiss and take it for granted. But when you have a sense of maturity and something about your life or you that you went through, you can look back and say, wow, this is what I bond onto. This is what I can take and uh, be better. Because my family came from the South and they suffered so much, and then they went to New York, and I didn't realize what they had to go through in order to push me forward once I got there. And you're saying that, and it's kind of like, you know what, I'm not that smart, and I'm just gonna keep going through it. But then now you got a sense of pride, because I felt the sense of failure for so long until I start getting something more positive in my family and my history and all of that. Then I can say I'm a better me, because if I can't be a better me, I can't make anyone else better. It
Exactly.
has to start with me. And I think that's what I'm hearing from you. And it's always great to hear that, because when people don't tell me I'm going to be better because I have to take care of me, I always tell them, don't feel that selfish, because you can't take care of nobody else until you take care of
Hmm.
yourself. So I just find that just
Yep.
amazing, and that's pretty cool though. That's a different line that I haven't heard. So I appreciate you sharing that as well. But moving from that, you started speaking. So what pushed you to say I'm going to stand in front of people? You wrote the book, but now you standing in front of people saying, "Let me tell this story," because a lot of people kind of like, I don't want to tell my personal issues and what I went through. How do you get to
Yeah,
that
I
point?
think as being a first generation Latino, and when it comes to our education, our families push that all the time. You got to go to school. You got to go to school. You have to go to college. And I was at first I was very ashamed about my failures and ashamed that I did. I failed third grade and I did horrible on my ACTs, or I barely got into college. But when that big turnaround, that mindset changed, I was like, wait a minute, there's so many
Hmm.
out there Latinos and first generation students who need to hear my story and to realize that it's possible. And that's why I
Yep.
put the face on
Yep.
my the cover of the book, because I wrote the book for students and also for young professionals, because I want to be straight to the point. This is what it is, and this is how I accomplish things, and this is what you need to do, because I failed tremendously. I'm not the perfect person. I'm always constantly learning about myself. I'm always trying to figure out what can I do better. but you had to figure out who you are. And sometimes when it comes to the parents, students listen to their parents, it doesn't happen smoothly. It doesn't happen right away until
Right.
something dramatic happens in their life. And if I'm able to speak to a group of college students, high school students, and be like, hey man, I've been there before, but you had to get to know who you are. You got to know to your identity. And I think my book was a ticket to get in, to be like, hey, let me share my story, because I've been there before. I didn't come
Right.
from wealth. I didn't come from a bougie place. I come from, like, my mom came from Mexico. It's her, and she has a story. And we grew up we've grown so much. I had to share this. So that was a fire
Mhm.
of me, like, you know
Right.
what? There's other students out there who are struggling and questioning, and they can be successful.
See, and that's amazing because you're absolutely right. There's people that won't say a word
Hmm.
until they see it. And I always tell people when you speaking and when you saying people can do better, they have to see it. You just can't tell them. But when you do tell them, either you have to
Yeah.
sound like them or you have to really experience what they went to. So I always tell people, and this is where this podcast thing comes from. If you hear someone who talks like you, who has a background like you, and who's experienced things like you are influencing people in so many ways. And then when you get the opportunity and they see you, they
Mhm.
realize you exist. And then they realize, which is kind of dramatic that I've seen with a lot of young girls and even young boys, they feel now they exist because they seen, wait a minute, you said you went through this and this is where you are? Yeah, you can do the same thing. It doesn't
Yep.
matter your hardships. You can be something more
Yep.
than
I
what you
agree.
are right now. And like you said, your face on that book says, you know what? As a
Hmm.
Latino, I can do this. Are you kidding me? You went through this and look at you now. You're the greatest guy I ever seen. No, I'm not the greatest, but you can
Exactly.
get to my point and beyond. So
Oh man.
why podcast though? So then you move from that and speaking and a book and now
Yeah, so I was like,
podcast.
okay, I
Where
have this
that come
book
from?
out. How do I continue this movement? What do I need
Mm,
to do? And, like, so I asked myself, what problem do I want to solve? And so I'm like, you know what? The world, the media talks so much about millennials. The millennials this, millennials that, and they don't do
they don't
this. I'm
do
like,
this and they don't
Lord,
do that.
okay. So I was like, you know what? Not all millennials
Right,
are
right.
lazy. Not all millennials are entitled.
Hmm.
Not all millennials are job hoppers and whatever they say.
But, but
Yeah, but I was like,
materialistic
there's a
and
lot of
yeah.
millennials out there who are working 10 times harder than you. So I don't know why you're talking. So I want to, like, debunk the myths. Like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna bring in guests who are effective, like millennials who are effective leaders in the community, and just grinding and hustling and doing something, and for their family, for themselves, for the community. But I also want to bring in different guests from different generations to share their expertise or share their story, information that can empower my generation too. Because, like I said, not all millennials, there are some millennials out there who need a little push or who need that little information. And that's why I do
Yes.
that. So, because I want to create this movement that, you know what, let's all work together. Because at the end of the day, there's more of us than any other generation.
Yep, absolutely. And what I found interesting because I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I listened to the one that the makeup artist,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was interesting because it was kind of like, how did she learn to do that? She took it as being fun, and then she took it at being on YouTube with a friend, and then she made something more about it.
Hmm.
And then I listened to the coupon one, and this woman is just doing all types of coupons, making money, and just a process that you can save a lot of money with that. I got a friend who's doing that now, but the way she explained it, I was like, wow, that is really fascinating. And even when I've listened to yours when you said that you lost weight and you ran to a point, because I'm ex-military, so I had to run. If you don't run, then they kicking you out. So I had to run. So I was used to that, but I picked up my speed once I said I'm going to do it. I'm comfortable who I am, and I'm going to continue to challenge myself. So as you challenge yourself, you do that. But I think what you're doing, and this is really why I wanted you on, is because you're highlighting others. You're not just saying this is my platform. You're saying, look at what everyone else in my generation is doing. Stop looking at us as these lazy, I'm entitled to everything. Just give, give, give. And you laying out people that's, look, they're giving. They're not taking. They're giving. And these are millennials. And so my question really was, so, and you kind of answered it. You was like, no, I want everyone. I don't want just certain type of people with certain type of stories. I'm putting a good network of different things that I feel that people needs to hear. Do you have a lineup, a process, or are you saying as you run into these people, you're gonna make them, or you're gonna put them on your show?
Yeah, that's a good question. Even starting the whole podcast process, you kind of trying to brainstorm ideas, and I know you went through the process too. And at
Hmm.
first, it was like, okay, let me pick out people who I know who are experts in their field, and let me take them on, let me bring them on. But then I was like, let me bring a different flow. Like for example, September to October was Hispanic Heritage Month. I was like, I'm gonna
Right.
focus on my Hispanics, on my Latinos who are doing something or share their story about DACA, whatever. And so that's how I try to now change it as like, for that month, I'm gonna focus on a specific topic or something that can relate to that month. Like January, it's about
Hmm.
resolutions. Everybody and their mama trying to lose weight,
That's right.
or everybody trying to, be a new me. You said that 2015, and you're still the same old you. So it kind of bring
Yep.
that, like, share those stories about and bring in guests who can really, bring that impact for that in that situation or current events too.
Gotcha. So, and the current, I don't like the fact when it's current, people can't wait to get on because you're talking about what's going on, as opposed to here's a lesson on some things that you need to know about. But when they say, "Yeah, I heard that," you know what? I thought I heard that on the news.
Mhm.
Wow, Jose is talking about that right now.
Yep.
Oh, he's addressing some things that we were talking about. And in this age of social media, they throw out so many different things that are false. And for you to bring people of substance on and motivating, that's a definitely a positive thing.
Yep.
But what's the biggest challenge do you have doing these podcasts and actually being consistent with it?
Yeah, that's the one thing that I realized in this past 6 months of creating Decoding Millennials podcast is that at first I'm like, is anybody listening?
Right.
Besides my siblings and the people I
Couple
know.
of friends and
But not knowing but after being consistent and being in front of people's faces,
Mhm.
I realized that people were. At first, that was so challenging because I'm like, I'm creating this content online, I'm creating these episodes, but am I even like, if it's, is it sticking to anybody?
Right.
But
Right.
that was challenging at first. But what I've learned to overcome that challenge is to put myself out there more, and I ask
Right.
questions to my to my followers and my listeners and to different groups I'm a part of. What do you want to hear? you
Hmm.
know what How can I improve? Because I'm not perfect, I'm learning so much. Tell me what else do you like to hear? Because this podcast is your platform, is for you guys. Give me ideas. And when I did that, wow, I feel like it's just they did the work
Next
for
level,
me.
huh?
Yeah, next
Right.
level. I'm like, I didn't have to
Right.
work so hard. All I had to do is just ask.
Hmm. And I'm going to tell you one thing that's interesting because you said you were closer to what, 6 months,
Hmm.
7 months. So I'm good around a good year. Um, but I was doing it to get people to listen at first. And then no, let me go back. I did it for me and my brother can do it together. My younger brother, and he had cancer, and I wanted to keep him occupied so he don't have to think of the cancer. Then I was like, I want people to hear it, but it got better when I said, I don't care who's listening. I enjoy doing it. So I'm going to continue to make content that I enjoy doing. And then, like you, when I asked the question, like, you know what? I'm not going to the movies this week. Oh, you got to go see Captain America. Or, oh, you got to go see the new Thor. I'm waiting for your interview. I was like, they listening to that? And they was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. And then, people are, even though they may not leave the comments, they tweet and say, "Hey, when you did that, that was just so funny." And I was like, "Y'all need to leave comments. Goddamn, help me out." So, but I hear what you. But to me, what I'm trying to say to you is, make sure you're enjoying it though, because if you're enjoying it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They'll come because your soul is in it. Your effort and everything that you believe in is right there, and you'll be a lot more successful when it becomes a natural thing. Because I sometimes I don't get sleep because I'm editing and I'm kind of doing show notes for upcoming things, or I'm calling people to say, "Hey, could you do this?" Or "Let me create a podcast for you and join my network," because I want it to be successful for everyone, not just because Michael want to be great, But you got a background of already doing it outside of a podcast. Now you just incorporate the podcast into it, which makes it a lot more
Oh yeah,
interesting.
and it's so fun to see the growth over this like 6 months, and I'm like, oh man, it's so awesome to
Yep.
see that because you get to talk to people from different parts of the world, the country. It's like, wow, I would have never met you or get to know you if I didn't do this, and I'm so glad I decided to create this podcast because I've been learning so much and
Hmm.
also helping others.
Right. And helping others in ways of just sharing yourself, because that's what you're doing. You're
Hmm.
sharing a part of you to ensure that they can freely share a part of themselves. And then when you say, "Hey, look, I created a podcast too." What? You kidding me? Yeah, because of what you was saying, and that is just great. It's a great feeling for someone to say, "I've done something because I heard you." And that's just amazing to
Hmm.
me. So, are you part of any other type of groups that kind of supports, your speaking engagements or your podcasts or anything like that?
Yeah, so I'm part of Breathe University. It's an online community from Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher. Also, the
Okay.
Sleepless Nights program, which is run by David Shands. And so I'm part of these both communities. And they're very supportive. Like the followers are supportive in the group, and telling me what to do, what not to do. How to improve, and just also being guests on the show. That's been a tremendous help as well too.
Absolutely. So when you share that and you share being on different shows and then say, "Hey, look, now you come on my show." When we create this network, I'm doing that down here, and I'm part of Podcast Atlanta. But I want to expand outside of that because I know some people from Tennessee, and I'm working with some people in Florida, and I got my connection in Chicago.
Yeah,
So
most definitely. Most definitely.
that's like really really cool. But to me, it's about, where are those voices to uplift our community, and where's the voices? Because when I'm moved aside, people like yourself, the millennials who's out there who have dreams and aspirations, sometimes they don't know how
Yeah.
to get there. But if they hear someone that's around their age or who has done it, or who's working to do it, they like, well, I can do that too. And I have a son and a daughter that actually is following behind, and they listen to podcasts. And I was like, this is why I'm doing it, because you told me you was listening to podcasts, and you said, maybe you need to be doing some of this because you lecture us too damn much." And I was like, I got you, I got you. So it makes it a lot more interesting though. But no, but I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And I really, when I started reading your story and the people you interviewed, and I knew it tied into a lot of things I was doing with the young millennials in my community and in Southwest Atlanta, where a lot of people just say, "Hey, look, I'm into the trap, and there's not much more than that." And I was like, "It's a
Mhm.
lot more than that." But appreciate your intelligence, because I'm going to go back to what you said, because I think that's so important. People think because they had short failures, they will
Mhm.
continue to fail. My wife hates standardized tests. She doesn't do well on them, but she learned how to code on her own. So she's a iOS coder for Swift, as well as I forgot the other one. But soon as Apple found out, they put her on their keynote and said, "We're going to do a quick documentary on you, because I don't know people in their 50s who learned how to code and code this well, and she had the first domestic violence app in Georgia, and now she's trying to make it national. But she doesn't do well on tests. But she's capable of doing it. And like what you said, look, I may not have been good at that time, but I can grow to be better. And if I believe in me, me can be better. And I think you're just living proof of that. And you're just doing a lot of great things, Jose. And I really appreciate you spending the time telling your story, because now I can push your story and say, hey, here's another one that you need to be listening to. Here's another person that can tell you how good you can become. And I just think
No, I
that's
appreciate
great.
your words, man. I really appreciate it because we had to put ourselves out there, because if we don't, someone else is going to be suffering.
Yep. Yep. And why let that happen when you're looking right at it and said, if I would have told her this, or if I could have told him that, I think they would have been better. But, we're so into my life is personal, and I really don't want to, sometimes you need to put yourself out, because you can be greater than what you think you can. And I always try to motivate people in that way and say, you're greater than you think, because you may be in an environment that keeps you back, or you may have been in an environment that accepted mediocrity. But guess what? You can move from that. And when you speak out and you can be that way, it's perfect. It's just fantastic.
Yep, I agree.
So anything else, Jose? I really enjoyed it. I love your story, bro. And I do promise you, I'm gonna get your book, and when I read through it, and I'm gonna be like, wow, there's more than I thought. We need to talk again.
Also, I have a second book. It's called Purpose Pioneers, and it's how to overcome adversity, survive setback, and thrive on purpose. And this book was written with 5 other authors. And
Oh,
we talk about how different adversities that we overcame. So it's also another book that I'm part of. So that's my second book.
okay. All right. Now you got me reading 2 books.
Yes.
No, fantastic. No, it's my pleasure. So give me websites, sites, social media. Could you plug those real quick for me?
Yeah, most definitely. So to purchase the book, The Numbers Do Lie, just go to thenumbersdolie.com. You can follow
Hmm.
me on Instagram at DM, M as in mouse, underscore podcast. On Facebook, follow me at Decoding Millennials Podcast. And on LinkedIn is linkedin.com/IN/Contreras. It's CONTRERASJA.
Backwards.
Yes. There you go. Yeah.
You got it backwards. Yeah. Fantastic. So, me, I'm already following you on Facebook. I'm gonna be following you on Instagram, and let's share some things and continue to keep this relationship, because since you are speaking, there's some opportunities that hopefully we can bring you down and have you speak in front of these kids that we're trying to get just to be better.
Hmm.
Someone outside of their community or part of their community. And if I can get you down there, that would be fantastic,
Most
bro.
definitely. Let's make it happen.
Excellent. So thank you very much. That was Jose Angel Contreras. And this is Michael, your bougie black brother. And you'll be able to see, no, not see, you'll be able to hear our podcast on the Minorities Report podcast on the Bougie Black Brother Network. And get us back on Bougie Black Bro on IG and Twitter. And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.